This is always a fun thing to get to here. ESPN, specifically Mark Schlabach, put out a story earlier today with the post-spring, way too early top 25. That's where we are. That's where we are on the calendar. And I like to take a peek. You know, it's not the gospel here on the day that they've named a new pope in the Catholic Church. It's just something to chew on and talk about a little bit. And I was first interested of who he had number one. We'll get to LSU in a second. But Penn State, number one for Mark Schlabach. Drew Allar coming back, Katron Allen coming back, Nick Singleton coming back. Got brand new defensive coordinator they took from Ohio State. Jim Knowles is really good. He's got Penn State at number one. LSU, interestingly enough, comes in at number 6 in this ranking. LSU was 6 before the spring as well. You look at the key returners. Of course, you know those names: Garrett Nussmeier, Caden Durham, Aaron Anderson, Whit Weeks, Ashton Stamps, Harold Perkins, Jordan Gilbert. And then you go to the key transfer portal additions, and it takes up like the entire page. It's a massive list because LSU went hard after this transfer portal deal. Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, Nick Anderson, Berrien Brown, Braylon Moore, Josh Thompson, Mansour Delane, A.J. Halsey, Bernard Gooden, Tamarcus Cooley. You got it. I mean, they got a lot of guys in the transfer portal. But Schlabach's outlook says there's no reason the Tigers shouldn't be in the thick of the SEC title race and college football playoff race. Brian Kelly added 18 players from the transfer portal, including several plug-and-play starters. The latest addition, Halsey, was an all-Big 12 performer in 2024. The Tigers were already returning the SEC's most productive quarterback in Nussmeier and a deep receiver core that only improved with Berrien Brown and Nick Anderson. Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson should shore up an offensive line that lost 4 starters. Halsey joins a secondary that already added Delane and Cooley. Peyton and Pyburn, big-time additions on the edge, and Gooden filled a much-needed role on the interior of the defensive line. The Tigers are going to score a ton of points in 2025. They got to stop somebody far better than they did last year when they ranked 14th in the SEC in scoring defense. And I think you're going to look at this ranking of LSU, and LSU's, generally speaking, going to come in between 4 and 8 by just about everybody. It's not as easy to do these preseason rankings as it once was, when you could really look at what teams had coming back and the only way to fill holes was with freshmen and sophomores. That was a pretty easy way to say, well, you got a lot coming back, or you couldn't add juniors and seniors 10 years ago. Now you can, and LSU did it by the truckload. But what LSU would have been given credit for 8 years ago and are certainly being given credit for now is the fact that Garrett Nussmeier is taking the snaps for LSU. And I think that LSU is going to be a trendy pick in SEC Media Days in July. And I think LSU is going to be a hot team that people are talking about in August when we kick this thing off at Labor Day. I think that's a fair ranking for LSU at 6. I know that a lot of people, when they listen to me, think that I am a pessimist when it comes to football, think that I'm a nega-tiger. I was called Baton Rouge's Eeyore at one point, which became my fantasy football team because I really appreciated that moniker. But I just tell you what I think. And I thought that LSU was going to lose to Florida State to open the season 2 years ago. I thought they would beat USC last year, but I did think there were some issues on the defense. And when I watched that team in spring and then certainly in fall camp, I was like, I just don't know if there's enough proven dudes on this defense. And I do look at LSU's defense right now, and I think there are enough proven dudes. It's not going to look like 2011. It's not going to look like 2019. Certainly not going to look like 2003 or any of those juggernauts. But I think there are enough really solid players with a good coaching staff to be a better defense. And as Schlabach writes here in this story, 14th in the SEC in scoring defense at 24 points per game. Got to be better than that. Now, the other piece to this that I'm always going to look at in these preseason deals, whether it's Schlabach on ESPN or a Yahoo piece or the Phil Steele magazine when it comes out, or Athlon Sports, or whoever's putting out a preseason prognostication, I'm going to go to LSU first, obviously. But the second place I'm always going to go is Clemson, because that's where you start. And Mark Schlabach thinks a lot of Clemson. They're number 2 in his preseason rankings. Klubnik at quarterback, and then a bunch of guys that you've probably never heard of as LSU fans, but you're looking at 8 guys he's got listed as key returning players. And interestingly enough, finally, on the key portal additions part of this, Clemson does have 3 names here. Will Helt, who I really thought LSU should make a run at defensive end right when the portal opened because I thought they needed to add depth on the ends, especially after Womack left. Helt from Purdue ended up at Clemson. And then you got Jeremiah Alexander, who transfers over at linebacker from Alabama, and then Tristan Smith, who's a wide receiver from Southeast Missouri State. But Schlabach writes about Clemson, much like Penn State, Clemson's offense is stacked and has a talented quarterback, deep receiving core, and experienced offensive line. The Tigers don't have a two-player attack at tailback that remains their biggest concern after practice. Last year's leading rusher, Phil Maffa, departed for the NFL, and top backup Jay Haynes tore an ACL in the ACC championship game. They've got great wide receiver in Adam Randall. Freshman David, no chance I can say that right, Eziomi? I can't say that. No chance I can say that. Apparently, he's a good freshman, and Gideon Davis might get significant carries at running back. Davidson was the number 3 running back in the class, according to ESPN. Clemson coach Dabo Swinney also made a big move to shore up his defense, which ranked next to last in the ACC in stopping the run in 2024, luring defensive coordinator Tom Allen away from Penn State. Helt, who we talked about at the top from Purdue, 5 sacks last year, very important player on the best defensive line in the FBS. One thing that stands out there is that Clemson really struggled to stop the run last year. Well, LSU really struggled to run the ball last year. So that's kind of the movable object against the stoppable force, right? Something's got to give there. Hopefully, it's LSU's running game in that first game. But according to Schlabach, that's number 6 versus number 2 in the opener for LSU and Clemson. That's a pretty big deal. I know that Ohio State and Texas are going to draw a ton of eyeballs. And in Schlabach's initial ranking, he's got Texas number 3 and Ohio State number 5. So that's 8 total. LSU and Clemson 2 and 6. 8 total. Those are the biggest shows in town on Labor Day weekend, and should be quite a spectacle. Hopefully LSU can go out there and play better than they have in the last 5 openers. That's the hope, at least. That's your way too early top 25, according to Mark Schlabach. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.